Okay, so if you open your Chapter 9 notes to page 26, we're going to go over how to use the zero product property rule. Now, the zero product property rule has to do with this. So if I tell you that A times B equals 0, who can tell me what they know about either A or B or both? Devjit?
Either one of them equals 0 or both.
Right, because the only way to get a product to equal 0 is if one of your factors is 0, right? So the zero product property rule says if A times B equals 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. And it is possible that they both equal 0. Okay? Now, that sounds pretty simple, right? But it actually is a very powerful property. Now, if I tell you, if we look at example 1, x minus 5 times x plus 4 equals 0. We can apply the zero product property rule and solve this. So you say, well, this is A, this is B. And I know if A times B equals 0, then either A, which is x minus 5, equals 0, and x equals 5, or x plus 4 equals 0, and x equals negative 4. Okay, does that make sense? Now, let's plug it in and make sure it works. So if x is 5, 5 minus 5 is 0, and if 0 times 9 would be 0, so it works. If x is negative 4, this is negative 9 times 0, which is 0, and that works. Right, so when we go to plug it back in, it works. Okay? So, now, what we're going to be doing now, if we know that A times B equals 0, if we can change any equation we have into two factors, we can solve it by setting both of those factors equal to 0. So this is why we're going to learn how to factor. The first half of the chapter we learned how to multiply. Now we're going to learn how to undo that. So if you turn to page 27, we're going to learn how to factor first by factoring out the GCF. Now, when we factor out the GCF, we're kicking out grandma, right? You guys remember I showed you how to kick out grandma? Grandma is the greatest common factor. So if you look at this expression, what common factor do 16x and 40y have?
4.
Okay, you're correct, but we have to think a little bigger. But I'm going to use your 4. Yes, you are right, it's 8. But let's pretend we just thought 4, and we went and we wrote this. You know it's not completely factored, because when you look at what's left, this has another common factor. Now, my suggestion to all of you, I really think it's easier. If you realize you did it wrong, don't try to figure out, oh, I'll take out another 2. I think that gets confusing. Say, obviously I missed the GCF, let me reconsider. And when you did, you thought 8. So, 8 is correct. So if we kick grandma out, that means divide. 16x divided by 8 is 2x. 40y divided by 8 is 5y. And that is fully factored. Okay, now let's look at the next one. We're going to factor 6x squared plus 30x cubed. So we're going to have a GCF that has both a number and a variable. So who thinks they can give me the GCF here?
6x squared.
6x squared, right? Because remember, when you have two variables, you choose the lowest power of the variables. So 6x squared, and that becomes 1 plus 5x. Okay? Now, over to the left, you will see 3 other examples, and I want you all to try those examples now. So try those on your own. Okay, so for number 1, who thinks they can give me this in factored form? Andre?
5x parentheses x squared minus 3.
Perfect. Everybody got that? Okay, how about number 2? Gloria?
16 parentheses x plus 4y.
Perfect. And the last one? Yeah, Ria.
X times 7x plus 13. X parentheses 7x plus 13.
Perfect, because the only thing you could take out would be an x. Okay, good. So, now, I'm going to give you an equation. We're still on page 27. If we look at 3x squared plus 15x equals 0, we've never learned how to solve this, right? But what we have learned is that if you can factor an expression and set it equal to 0, then we can let each factor equal 0 because of the zero product property rule. So, do you think we can factor 3x squared plus 15x?
Yes.
Okay, so we will take out a 3x, and we're left with x plus 5. So, who can tell me what this means? What can I do now? Lori? Exactly. So we can say either 3x equals 0, in which case x equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0, which means x equals negative 5. So our answers are 0 and negative 5. Now, also, I want to point out something, that x squared, you have an x squared in your equation. That means you're going to have 2 possible solutions. When we had just an x, we usually had 1 solution. When it's x squared, we'll have 2 solutions. How many solutions do you think we'll have when it's x cubed?
3.
3 solutions, okay? Now, let's look at the next one. The next one is 9b squared equals 24b. Now, I know it might be tempting to divide by b. How many people would look in this and say, well, yeah, nobody would think to divide by b?
No, because you can move 24 and then you can
Okay, well, I think some people think you can divide by b. So let's see what happens.
pretty sure
So
that's the solution.
we get 9b equals 24, b equals 24/9 or 8/3. Now, the problem with doing this is we can only divide by b if we're told b does not equal 0. Did anybody tell you b does not equal 0?
No.
So therefore, you cannot divide by b. So if you're ever tempted to do that, Don't. So, I heard some of you say what we should do is subtract 24b from both sides. So we have it set equal to 0. Because once we have it set equal to 0, if we can factor it, we can solve it. So I can take out a 3b, and I am left with 3b minus 8 equals 0. So that means either 3b equals 0 or b equals 0, or 3b minus 8 equals 0, 3b equals 8, and b equals 8/3. So, Sandy was right. If we divide by b, we might miss a solution, and we did. So b can either be 0 or b can be 8/3. Okay? So now let's turn the page again. And I want everyone to try 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so look up when you're done.